love, and they'll be available for collection at the end of the week. A man's been jailed for 16 months after a shoplifting spree in Nottingham. Stores pound shop theft. It's called survey. That it's on. Visited. Subject. Yeah, the Wombats will take to the stage at Willerton Park on Saturday the 18th of July, and Snow Patrol will play this Sunday. More acts are set to be announced soon, and there's more coming up later on in the show. Nottinghamshire's weather, dry with a mix of patchy cloud and sunny spells. A cooler day with highs of 18 Celsius, cloudy overnight with some light patchy rain, lows of 10 Celsius. For an update at any time, you can ask your smart speaker to play BBC News for Nottingham.
Sound of Nottinghamshire. Nottinghamshire. And all music you love. BBC Radio Nottingham.
Morning, Di, you alright?
No, I've been up all night being sick.
Oh, bloody hell. That's not good.
I can't get this absence manager thing to work.
Okay, don't worry about that. What I'll do, you got appointments scheduled for today?
I've cancelled, I've just been on laptop this morning. I've cancelled them. I've messaged and cancelled things.
Okay, no
And
problem.
I'm supposed to be on annual leave on Thursday. It's my day off Friday, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, we'll see how you are. What I'll do is, because I'm not even, I'll look at your diary and stuff. Do you want me to cancel tomorrow's appointments for you as well?
But I've got nothing.
Oh, you got nothing? Okay, no problem. Leave it as that, and then we'll assess where we are in a couple of days.
I've got annual leave in the morning, and then I've got team meeting in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I've got annual leave Thursday and day off on Friday.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it with me, and then we'll sort it out when you come back, kind of thing. Because I don't know how to get the absent manager.
I've done everything, Jerome.
Yeah.
I've changed my password 4 times this morning.
Don't worry about it, Di. Don't stress about it. We can just do it retrospectively when you come back. So don't worry about that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, no problem.
Right.
You just take the time you need, and then I'll speak.
I'll give you a ring tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
okay then, Di.
Jerome.
No probs. I'll speak to you later.
Bye.
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 Saturday the 11th of October. Walk, run, wheel or scoot 2k or 5k and enjoy a day of live music, games and more, all while supporting Great Ormond Street Hospital charity. Kids go free. Visit race.gosh.org.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind a beautiful game with me, Kevin Day, and Liverpool University's Kieran Ryan. You'd think, Kieran, wouldn't you? I've been in a comedy, sort of surprise some people. They'll enjoy it, having a go at West. I've been in the comedy business for 35 odd years. I don't laugh at anybody. But you're coming up with inventive ways of making me laugh. Kieran just started the show by showing me a massive picture of John Mark.
I think you'll find it's Art Deco Andy Warhol interpretation of the John, right?
Well, I feel the same way about Andy Warhol as I do about Marmite. Basically take all it. I'm also getting slightly suspicious about the range of Marmite tasting things that Marks and Spencer's can come up with.
It is strange. Even I'm going to line there, Riley.
Yeah. It's Question Day, Kieran. I hope you had a lovely weekend. You caused a bit of a stir on social media with the photograph you published of you and I believe it was 18 tickets, was it, that took you to Wolverhampton from Brighton?
18 tickets and a receipt.
And a receipt.
Yes, it was just as well I got to the station 20 minutes early because I just bought a ticket. I use these split tickets. So it's a good one called Train Spot that I use quite often. And I am organised, I am comedian. I'm fully aware of that. But that was a PB. That was the Usain Bolt of tickets to Wolverhampton. And when it started just spitting out tickets, and it was this bloke behind me, and of course he's going, what are you doing here? You bringing a football team with you? No, just me. And again, okay, how many weeks worth of tickets? No, it's just me, it's one trip. And I start to get somewhat nervous.
See, I told Ali about this, and Ali said, well, yes, he's doing a sensible thing. He's getting from point A to point B in the most economical way possible. Has it occurred to you to try doing that? And there was a few moments of silence. Well, no, because I'd have to get a bigger wallet for a start. I don't like having a bulging wallet. I prefer a nice slim one. An 18 ticket, getting complicated. It's Questions Day, Kieran. I have a question for you. I have a question for you. I don't know, can you tell me what that little L means next to Palace's name in the league table? So I've not seen one for quite some time, and it's causing some confusion as to what it actually means. They don't seem to put our normal 3 points up for some reason at Premier League headquarters, so I might have to get in touch with them and ask why that's happened. It's a strange one. Now, Michael Jankskill, how was your game, by the way? Was it worth 18 tickets?
No, it wasn't worth one ticket. It was dreadful. It was dreadful. And then I got to Wolverhampton. The highlight of the day was going to one of the street food vans outside, and they did an absolutely fantastic lamb sheep. With proper sauce. A little bit of salad, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And I was wandering across, and as you know, I do put in a few hours of work most days. So I've been working on the train, updating some documents and spreadsheets and so on my iPad. Got to the stadium, I had my tiny rucksack, and it is a tiny rucksack, just big enough for an iPad. And he says, I'm sorry mate, can't come in. What? He goes, no. iPads are specifically prohibited from football matches. I go, well, I'm not going to throw at anybody. It's worth a few quid. Sorry mate, rules are rules. And very, very bizarre. Apparently, they fear that you might record the match and put it out for broadcast from your iPad. And I go, well, my iPhone is far better quality in terms of camera, and there's also, there's 30,000 other people who could do exactly the same. I think it just shows how out of touch football clubs are.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Kieran, because I know it's not just Palace fans. When we had our first European game, the qualifying game, all very exciting, but along with the emails came a new thing, which was bags above a certain size have to be checked in this season, but it was the bags were just above or just below laptop size. So if you had a laptop bag, you had to technically check that in. But as many people pointed out, and have done at other clubs, it was an evening game. They were coming straight from work. So a good 50% of the people in that crowd would have had laptops in their bag. There isn't the time or the space to store those laptops, and certainly no one wants to stay around afterwards like they've been to a dinner dance and they've got a raffle ticket to go to the cloakroom. You want to get away as quickly as possible, and I believe it's been quietly dropped, but I can only assume it's for a similar reason.
Yes, I absolutely understand things from a security perspective.
Of course.
Yeah, I get on a train every day. You know, that's a security risk. You know, we do many things as part of our everyday lives which are a potential security risk. I think it's further indicative of the gap between the people making the rules and the people on the receiving side of the rules. The vast majority of football fans are not there to cause trouble, just like the vast majority of people go to the pub, the vast majority of people go to the supermarket, and so on. It's this creeping criminalisation of football fans. You are guilty until found innocent. I travel all over. What am I supposed to do? So, you know, if it's taken me 6 hours to get to Wolverhampton, 6 hours back, and I'm on a train, I'm going to work. And it's, and you rightly said, you know, I've been to 2 or 3 evening matches this year. Again, you're working en route and you're working on the way back. And that's how modern life is.
Not for all of us, kids. I was looking blankly out the window, waiting for the trolley to come by with a beer, sleeping. Also, talking of Fredrikstad, I have to improve my diction. As a posh friend of mine said the other day, I'm sorry, I thought you were playing Frederick's dad. Michael Janks has our first question today, Kieran. We've got some interesting questions, but they are on familiar themes, some of them, but they are worth asking. Michael Janks says, I've noticed, as we all have, Michael, a few Premier League and EFL clubs starting the season without front of shirt sponsors. I guess Chelsea would be the highest profile. Michael says, while it's a pleasant change to not see sponsors on all shirts, if you were the CFO or the finance director of a club, would you not make this a priority to have a front of shirt sponsor? On average, what percentage of commercial revenue does this generate for clubs? And I think for those clubs lower down the pyramid, this would be an important source.
Bigger right, and then that's what the smaller right. But if it can't be like that, they're not doing it.
It does come as some surprise, Kieran. I think it was only the last 3 games of last season that Chelsea ended up with a front of shirt sponsor. It does stand out, especially in the Premier League game when you see one without.
Yes, I think now for 3 consecutive seasons at the start of the campaign, Chelsea have not had a front of shirt sponsor. In terms of the proportion of commercial revenue, or the proportion of overall revenue, it can be worth 10%, it can be worth more than 20%. Manchester United's deal with Snapdragon is worth in the region of £70 million. Manchester United's got revenues of less than 700. Manchester City are rumoured to be having a deal worth potentially £1 billion or perhaps £1.5 billion over 10 years with Etihad when their current deal rolls over. So it is very, very significant. If we take a look at the English League to begin with, we've got Chelsea as far as the Premier League is concerned. Leicester City in the Championship, they're not playing with a front of shirt deal. And here you've got the trade-off, the negotiating trade-off. What clubs are reluctant to do is to give their IP, their intellectual property, away for a song. I absolutely get that. But sometimes they got an inflated sense of their worth. The Chelsea deal with Infinite Athlete which did kick in sort of 2.5 years ago. That was a very strange deal for a start-up company. Nobody could quite make sense of it, but that was worth 30 to 40 million pounds. Chelsea have generated an awful lot of money, as we know, and they are worthy winners of the FIFA Club World Cup because they won it, and that was worth a lot of money. So that sort of papered over the cracks. But also, Chelsea are well behind their other peer groups in the Big Six when it comes to matchday income. So this is a way of getting the money back, but they're not doing so. We're increasingly seeing it in Europe as well. Lazio, Roma, Verona, Espanyol, Real Sociedad, Toulouse, they're all clubs in the top tier of European football. I think it's partly due to the fact that many sponsors are now saying, well, we're not quite sure that we're getting value for money in terms of increased engagement. Are there alternative methods? Also, a few clubs, as we are aware, have had their fingers burned, including Chelsea, when it's coming to partner with modern financial services companies that are, as my dear old nan would say, all fur coat and no knickers. They want the advertising, but when it comes to paying the second or the third instalment, they've gone away. So it is important, I think, for clubs at all level. Although in the Championship, it could be worth, the lowest ones are probably high tens of thousands. You look at some of the sponsors are very, very local as you drop down the tier, but if that contributes towards one player's wages or one member's of staff wages, then it's deemed to be worth it. We are therefore in this position whereby it's deemed to be a necessity, but demand is not exceeding supply to the extent that it used to, because people are using alternative methods to get attention for their products, and therefore football clubs can't name the checks that they used to be able to when in negotiations, unless you're a global brand. And this again where I'm slightly surprised at Chelsea. It's not dissimilar to the decision that we're seeing with Spurs as far as the naming rights for their stadium are concerned, whereby Spurs think the value is X and the rest of the world seems to think it's 3/4 X, and nobody's willing to bridge that particular gap.
Three things, Kieran. First of all, I tried very hard to sneeze quietly there, but I suspect I made more noise trying to sneeze quietly than I would have done had I just not stopped to say I'm going to sneeze, Kieran. 5 minutes out, 10 minutes ago, I got out of a very air-conditioned car, which is not good for my delicate sinuses, which were fine until I got hit in the face with a hockey ball by Roy all those years ago. Just in terms of the sponsorship, Snapdragon can't be getting value for money purely on the basis that I have to ask you to remind me who they are every time we mention front of shirt sponsorships.
Well, yeah, it is a very, very lucrative deal from the point of view of Manchester United, but they would argue that they are in a competitive market. Snapdragon are a provider of computer chips. I must confess, when I buy a laptop, it's do I want a black one, or do I want a grey one, or do I want a white one? Not whether it's got an Intel or a AMD or a Snapdragon chip, but the world of IT, I think they like the kudos of sponsoring Manchester United, and that's understandable. Manchester United, as Offshore Jim repeatedly reminds us, are a global brand, and people want to be associated with global brands.
Well, working on the basis that Chelsea have just won the Club World Championship, you can't really get more of a global brand than them. So as you indicate, it is a surprise they're not attracting the sort of level of sponsorship that Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool are doing. So does that indicate that they are pricing themselves out of the market in the same way that you say Tottenham are with the stadium name?
I think it's certainly a contributory factor. It could also be that Chelsea are seeking a very long-term deal, and I think the best deals will lock in the partners, both partners, and you go forwards. Chelsea have done 1 month deals, sort of half-season deals. I think ideally they'd be looking for something for 5 years. That would give them certainty going forwards. But as yet, nobody's managed to match their aspirations. But like many things, it's a bit like the sale of Sheffield Wednesday, which is a regular topic on our news show. There are people willing to buy. You recall when we did our live show in Rotherham that one of the people there had discussions or represented one of the interested parties. Getting people to see sense when it comes to price can be a very, very challenging issue.
Well, I guess the other thing that's slightly confusing about Chelsea, Kieran, certainly to a layman, is that in terms of matchday income, they're 30,000 behind Liverpool, 20,000 behind Arsenal, Man City probably. So you'd think they'd be doing everything they could to get a prime time sponsor, wouldn't you?
Yes. Again, it's one of these things which does leave you sort of scratching your head at times. Chelsea's get out of jail free card is their ability to use creative accounting to generate profits from selling things to themselves. Women's team, £200 million, the car park, £70 million, but that's a once-only transaction. I guess they feel that selling the women's team to themselves is the equivalent of 5 years' worth of sponsorship deal, which gives them a degree of leeway to still stick out for a very good price. But the only way they can get that very good price is they're going to have to deliver, and this is not a snarky comment, they're going to have to deliver proper trophies, because the Club World Cup ain't one of them.
No, fair enough. They need to up their game and win the Community Shield. Essentially is what they should be doing. Paul Main has our next question. And Paul says most transfers these days are a set of future payments, often significant payments, which if they were missed might cause the selling club problems of their own. But after buying one player, a club can then go out and buy a lot more players, completely changing their financial position from the one that existed from the first deal. So, do clubs review other clubs' financial situation and refuse deals if they think the other club is not creditworthy? Because in essence, that is what is being created, credit. And could the player be the collateral in the deal? It's a very interesting point here. And if transfers are being paid over a period of five years, do they look into the fact that a club is able to pay that money still in 5 years' time?
Well, I think this is a very valid point that Paul has made. If we take a look at just the Premier League, the outstanding unpaid transfer fees total £3.1 billion. Now that is the equivalent of the TV money for the whole season. So there are issues here. We did see Sheffield United be docked points last season for failure to pay football debts on time. I think we could possibly see another club be subject to that. What we have in football, and this is a genuine issue as far as FIFA, but all of the criticisms that have been levelled at FIFA, and I suspect there might be a few levelled at them on the news show later this week, UEFA, Premier League and the EFL, they are very aware that credit is a lubricant, it's a circular issue, and it's therefore absolutely essential that we do not end up in a position that we almost had as far as the world's proper credit endured in 2007, 2008. And as somebody that works in finance, and many people I suspect will be fully aware of this, we nearly lost it. We nearly lost it totally. There could have been a major contagion, and it did mean that central banks and sensible governments, and there are fewer of those available today than used to be in existence, did come to the rescue. Now, what we have in the world of football is, first of all, very, very significant punishments for football clubs that fail to make football payments or football transfer payments on time. And if one is not made on time, then the club that's lost out is entitled to contact FIFA if it's an international transfer, and FIFA will impose very severe sanctions, or to contact the Premier League or the EFL. And again, what tends to be the case is very, very quickly you'll get a points deduction. People say, well, hold on, that's hurting the fans. No, what it's doing, it's acting as a deterrent about non-payment of outstanding sums. So the EFL and the Premier League, they can't act in the same way as the Bank of England in terms of a lender of last resort. But what they can do is make it very clear to clubs that this is an issue of which they will take a very, very severe approach should the rules be broken. I did an interview about 3 or 4 weeks ago with Dan Rowan of BBC, and just talking about transfer markets, the numbers involved. And I just said, as a throwaway line, I've got based on my figures, it's 3.1 billion at the end of 2024. Potentially, we could be heading towards 4 billion. What happens if, for example, Chelsea or Manchester United or Liverpool or one of the big clubs who have bought a lot of players say, we're not paying last year's instalments? The impact that would have, and I think here, sort of going back to Paul's central argument, is that if I'm relying on a £40 million payment from Chelsea because they've signed somebody or they signed a couple of players and that's the money that's due, the chances are that £40 million I think is coming into me, I'm going to allocate because I've bought some players from other clubs. And similarly, you have those clubs wanting to make payments as well, and there is this ripple effect, and all clubs are joined in this particular market as far as outstanding transfer fees are concerned. And
overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind billions of businesses around the world, from household to brands just getting started. With Shopify, you get your own design studio that includes hundreds of ready-to-use templates. You can accelerate your content creation with Shopify tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, photography, and you can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling. Strongly. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify.
Turn your big with Shopify on your side. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball, all lowercase. So go to shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball to take your business to the next level today. shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball. Just so I can get my head around this enormous subject, this £3.1 million, this is owed by Premier League clubs to other Premier League clubs?
No, it's owed by Premier League clubs to other clubs. Now, of that, about 1.3 billion is owed to other Premier League clubs. There's a bit owed to clubs in the EFL. Look, you look at your squad, and I look at my squad, and those players are English qualified. You're signing from whether it's Spain, Italy, Belgium, Africa, South America, Asia, wherever it's going to be. So we are operating in a global market, and so the majority of that money is in fact owed to other clubs from other countries. I think over the course of this summer, the Premier League bought players from the Bundesliga, for example, for around about £600 million, of which we assume that's on an average of, let's say, 3 to 4 instalments. Best part of £500,000 is going to be outstanding now to Bundesliga clubs from the Premier League.
I suppose from the Premier League point of view, in terms of reacting to that figure, it wouldn't suit their narrative of the Premier League being the biggest, richest league in the world for them to say, yeah, it's a bit of an issue, isn't it, that so much money is owed. They have to say, no, this is a function of the fact that the biggest, richest league in the world. Of course, these clubs will always be able to pay money. Nothing unforeseen will ever happen. they would probably say, well, the broadcasting deal could go wrong, but it won't.
Yeah.
So they're never going to publicly admit there's some unease about the fact that these clubs owe so much money to each other. And I have to say, much as we talk about Sheffield Wednesday being in trouble and Walker being in trouble, I don't think it ever occurs to me for a moment that there's ever going to be a Premier League club that won't be able to pay. And this is part of the problem. In fact, it doesn't occur to me for a moment that a Premier League club will never be in trouble. But I suppose it only takes one who gets a promoted club, for example, who spends way too much money to try and stay up and then doesn't, for them to be able to say, well, sorry, we can't afford these instalments.
Absolutely, and again, one of the punishments that the Premier League threatens its own member clubs with is, if you are late with a payment, what we will do is that your next instalment of that TV deal, we're going to keep it, and we're going to pay those transfer fees on your behalf. So it is doing the right thing, and I'm genuinely not trying to scare money. I'm just looking at the figures and going, being the biggest league is a fantastic achievement of the Premier League. It does deserve a lot of credit for it, but having the biggest credit card in world football isn't necessarily something to boast about at the same time.
Yeah, I need to ask you this question because I think people would expect me to ask this question. The independent regulator won't turn a hair about this, will it? The independent regulator won't be saying to clubs, look, has it occurred to you this is not, they'll only step in if a club is in serious trouble, or looks like they're in serious trouble.
Yeah, it's the independent regulator's remit does not involve the financial issues of individual clubs in terms of individual transactions. What the regulator might be able to do is to say to clubs at the start of the season, and I think this is something which is already requested, that the regulator is not trying to duplicate work that's already, or to have a replacement for work that's already undertaken by the Premier League and the EFL. It is allowed to say, however, if you want to have your licence, then you've got to give us a budget for the next 12 months. And if there's going to be a shortfall of money, you've got to advise us how you're going to deal with that shortfall. Now, if I was operating in any other industry, whether it was automotive, whether it was travel, whether it was hospitality, whether it was manufacturing,